Good morning, film students. This is your first of two updates for the week. As we talked about last week, each week we're going to have some film related either podcast or TED Talk that I'd like for you to watch and respond to. Last week, you responded to Does Hollywood Still Have a Princess Problem? And there were some excellent comments in the discussion thread. 14 of you liked the post, so I know at least 14 people saw that. We have a class of 33. 14 out of 33 is my best response number from any of my courses. So thank you. Let's do our weekly shout out here to those of you who are participating. Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Gerardo. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Rhiannon. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Alvaro. Thank you, Anthony. And thank you, Amy Sosa. Let's see who will like this week's. Speaking of this week's, this is the podcast. Now, why is my life so hard? You may be wondering. What does this have to do with filmmaking? Filmmaking is quite a process. It may not be immediately relevant, but as you listen to this podcast and read the transcript, and I'll mention again that the transcript has these orange links. Wherever you see an orange link, it turns green when you click on it or when you go over to it. It gives you the article or bio of whoever it is that they're referring to. In this case, the question is, why is my life so hard? A research question that affects all of us. A lot of us may be thinking right now, oh my God, why did this happen when I'm alive, right? Why did this happen here? Well, this is the kind of stuff that we read about in history books, not the kind of stuff that we experience. And those are very healthy thoughts to have. I think everybody has wondered, oh my God, what happened? How did we get to this point? How are we the ones who are having to deal with this crisis around the world at this time? Good questions. And so this podcast goes over something called the headwinds tailwinds asymmetry, which is linked here, right? So let's talk about what headwinds are. If you have the wind coming at you, it's coming at you head on. That is a headwind. If you have a tailwind, it's coming at you from behind. So if you're a runner, for example, if you have the wind coming at you where you're running towards, you're running into a headwind, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to run longer distances. But if you have a tailwind, it allows for you to get sort of a push. The wind doesn't push you that much, but it's not pushing against you. That's what a headwind is and a tailwind is. Asymmetry, A, is the root word meaning without. Symmetry means balance. So a lack of balance between headwinds and tailwinds, right? Between things that are pushing you forward and things that are holding you back. They're going to talk a lot about that in this podcast. So I ask you to please take a listen to it. It's not that long. And please take a read through it while essentially this is the transcript of what they're saying. So you go through this and they'll be explaining it. And as usual, on our discussion thread, I'll have a couple of questions for you to respond to. It's not due till Friday, but I'm giving it to you now, so you've got the rest of the week to work on it. Over here on the side, upcoming, there are a couple of you that are doing your agendas each week about how you're keeping yourself structured in your academics and whatnot. And I continue to give points if you do. Your film poster is due next week, but I think because, we've got so much time coming towards us, I will probably move the film poster to, maybe down here closer to the final film, which I'm also going to move as well down. If you're seeing these were all the questions for the units that we were going to do, but sadly we can't go back to school. And I want to mention that because last Monday, you probably heard the superintendent mention that we won't be going back to campus all the way until next fall. Fall semester, as you know, starts in August. And as of now, we're not going back until fall semester. As of now, that could change. In fact, every Monday at 11 a.m., the superintendent's going to give an update. And as you know, things have changed already a few times. I probably am not wrong to say that there's going to be change coming forward. We have to be ready for that kind of change. Another thing that he mentioned in his latest update was that no one was going to fail and that your grades were kind of locked, more or less, from the last day of school. And a lot of you, I'm sure, are wondering, well, if my grade is locked, if no one's going to fail, then why should I really do anything? And, that's a healthy question. My answer to that is learning isn't letters. And I think if we focus too much on letters, then we lose focus on learning. I think it's the second page of your course syllabus that we gave out last August. It's hard to believe. Last August, when we all met, I gave you each course syllabus. And in the grading section, I said that as soon as we give you an external motivation is something that's outside the intrinsic value of something. And as soon as we give an external motivation, as I look here through the grade setup, right, that somehow replaces learning. And that people don't learn for curiosity, they don't learn for exploration, they don't learn for growth, evolution, development. They learn for an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. That is a huge mistake. As a student, I hated grades. I would have done the easiest path, but I was wrong. Because learning isn't grade-based. The grade is given as either a reward or a consequence for lack of participation. I urge you, not just for my class, but for all your classes, participate in your learning because your learning is not A through Z. Your learning is not 0 through 100, pass, no pass, credit, no credit. Your learning is an experience. The final project for this semester, so many of you have decided to make it about this crisis. This is a historical crisis. And when the next generation and the generation after that knows that you lived through it, they'll ask, Mom, Dad, Grandpa, Grandma, Auntie, Uncle, what was it like when this happened? How did it feel? What were you going through? And you'll say, hey, you know what? For my film class, I made this little documentary about what was going on at the time. Let me show it to you. Let me show you the record of what our family lived through that will be preserved digitally forever because you made it. That's the project for this class. It wasn't the plan initially. None of this was the plan initially. But what happened? We adapted. I urge you, adapt to the circumstances that you're in now, where the film class that we had, where we were studying classic movies and looking at shots and left and right and all the different techniques, frame within frame, rule of thirds, all that stuff that every morning from 8 to 9 I was always gushing over while I was talking to you all. That part has passed. And the part that has replaced us now is to take those skills that we cultivated throughout the course of the year and use those to express what's going on in this world right now. How are you going to frame, literally and figuratively, the struggles we're all facing? None of us set out to be a documentarian about these crises, but that's where we are now. And just like everybody around the world is stepping up and doing stuff that they didn't think that they were going to have to do, we too, in Period 1 film class, are stepping up. And we're going to record what goes on in our homes, in our buildings. If you live in an apartment building, I can tell you I live in an apartment building, and I live in Echo Park, and there's something called the Echo Park Roar. Every day at 8 o'clock, all the neighbors go out on the balcony or their patio or in the front porch, and they bang on pots and they yell and they scream and they're clapping and cheering for our healthcare workers. It's an incredible sign, and I'm sure that that's happening something similar near you. We're living through incredible times. Point your cameras at it and tell its story, because it's your story. All right. I miss you all. I hope you're well. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And please stay creative. Take good care of yourselves.